Erin Goldsmith was a young woman with dreams much bigger than her modest life allowed. At just 23 years old, she worked tirelessly at Rosie's Diner, a small rundown restaurant in the heart of New York City. The chipped paint on the walls and the hum of the neon open sign outside mirrored her struggles. Yet she always managed to smile. Erin had a gift, not only to serve customers, but also to make people feel seen and valued. But despite long shifts and meager wages, Erin had a habit that set her apart. Every night after her shift, she would collect leftover food from the diner and hand it out to the homeless people she walked by on the way home. To her, it was a small act of kindness. One stormy night was especially bitter. The rain pounded unrelenting streams against the pavement of the city. Erin dashed home, tightly wrapped in her tattered jacket, when she saw a tiny figure shivering under a shelter at a bus stop. A little boy of no more than 8 years was huddled against the rain that soaked through his clothes. Erin stopped and could feel a spasm of pity for the young boy. "Hey," she said softly, kneeling beside him. "Okay? Where's your family?" The boy looked up at her, his face pale and scared. "I have no one," he whispered. The place reeked of sweat. Erin didn't care. Still, without even a second thought, she took him by the hand and led him back to the diner. That rain soaked the two of them, but the cold didn't bother her then. She warmed him up using a warm blanket and served a steaming hot bowl of soup. The young boy's eyes lit up from eating, but for the very first time since that night went dark, some warmth in his chest was awakened to the picture of Johnny, and a mame with a beard of red hair, a rooster with wings sitting on the table, and a picture of Johnny in a bird legs. She warmed her hands since that night went dark. What Erin did not know was that someone had been watching her across the street. A sleek black car was parked, its engine idling softly. Inside sat Andrew Nike, a billionaire known for his sharp business mind and private demeanor. He had been driving through the area after a stressful day, hoping the quiet streets would clear his head. But then he saw her. At first it was just curiosity. Why was a young woman out in the rain, kneeling beside a homeless boy? But as Andrew watched Erin lead the boy to the diner and take care of him, he couldn't look away. Her actions were so genuine, so selfless. "Who is she?" Andrew asked himself, his eyes glued to the diner. For the first time in years, he felt something stir inside him, a sense of wonder and admiration he couldn't quite explain. He jotted down the name of the diner and drove away, but the image of Erin stayed with him long after he returned to his luxurious penthouse. The next few days were a blur to Erin, juggling double shifts and taking care of her younger brother, who solely relied on her to pay school fees, was not giving her much time for thought about the boys she helped. However, the memory of his smile haunted her, boosting her energy. Meanwhile, Andrew could not get the waitress out of his mind. He had everything money could buy, but he could not forget the picture of her in the rain, soaked wet, providing warmth and kindness to someone who had nothing. It was not just her actions that caught his attention, but the purity of her heart. He wanted to. One evening, Andrew made up his mind. Dressed in a tailored suit that seemed way too formal for a diner, he walked through the door of Rosie's. The bell above the door jingled softly, catching Erin's attention. She was balancing a tray of plates, her hair slightly frizzy from the humidity, but her smile was as radiant as ever. Andrew froze for a moment, hit by the familiarity of her face. Erin greeted him warmly, as she did all of her customers. "Welcome to Rosie's. Have a seat anywhere you like," she said brightly. Andrew opted for a corner booth. His eyes followed her every move as she worked. She treated everybody with the same kindness he had seen that rainy night. She helped an elderly customer count his change, offered a free coffee refill to a struggling mother, and even paused to check on a regular who seemed unusually quiet. Every interaction confirmed what Andrew already knew. This woman was extraordinary. She said, studying the labels on her coffee. Andrew watched her with interest. She controlled his violent interruptions. He treated everyone with kindness. When his food was done, Andrew pushed Aaron's bill out in front of him without really speaking, but when he exited the restaurant, he slipped an envelope under his plate. Aaron never noticed it there, until she rose to clear the table. The pile of bills was crisp. The most money, obviously, more than any simple tip. As Aaron counted out the money in her shaking hands, her head spun with so many questions. She ran out of the restaurant, looking for the mysterious man. He was already gone. The sleek black car The rest of the night was filled with questions from Aaron about who he was and why he would leave such a generous tip. The next morning, the restaurant was bustling. Aaron tied on her apron and went to work, unaware of how drastically her life was about to change. Her mind was still on the homeless man she had helped just a few days ago. She hoped he had found a safe place to rest, but her focus quickly turned back to the customers filing in for breakfast. She entered the Around midday, the restaurant's front door swung open, and a tall, sharply dressed man entered. His tailored suit and polished shoes stood out among the casual diners. Aaron didn't notice him at first, as she was busy taking an elderly couple's order, but when the hostess approached her, whispering that the gentleman over there had asked for her to be a server, Aaron glanced at the man in surprise. She wasn't sure who he was. His hair was darker and he was dressed in black. Aaron stared at the man in surprise. His boots were wet and brittle, and his black shirt was brittle, and his black boots were wet. At first, she did not even recognize him. But when the eyes met hers, something deepened. The man smiled warmly. His gaze stayed on her a little too long, as if he were analyzing her. Aaron shrugged off the odd feeling and walked up to his table with her notepad and pen in hand. "Good afternoon," she said cheerfully. "What can I get you today?" The man paused a moment before he replied, "Okay, I will have the special of the day, only if you commit to taking time off and stopping by for a cup of coffee later." Aaron blinked as she was suddenly taken aback by his demand. Sorry, but I do not take breaks in my shift time. Is there anything else that you would want with your order?" The man laughed. "Just the special for now," he said. As Aaron walked away, she couldn't help but feel that something about him was different, like he knew her but was choosing not to say so. As the meal progressed, the man watched Aaron closely. He saw how she treated every customer with patience and kindness, no matter how busy or stressful it got. She had an easy way with carrying trays. She would smile even at the most unpleasant customers, check everyone's tables, and then disappear to bring someone else another dish. And so, in his mind, Aaron was clearly hardworking. No, much more than that. She was just extraordinary. She came back with his check and he went to his wallet, pulled out his credit card. She turned away and he said something to her. Aaron paused, tilting her head curiously. "Yes?" He leaned forward slightly. "Do you remember helping a homeless man on the street last week?" Her eyes widened in surprise. "Yes, I do," she replied. "How do you know about that?" He smiled knowingly. "Let's just say I saw something that day. A young woman who went out of her way to help someone in need. I was impressed by your compassion." Aaron blushed, a little embarrassed. "It was nothing, really. He needed help and I just did what anyone should do." "Not everyone would have done what you did," the man said firmly. "Most people would have walked by without a second thought." He handed her a folded piece of paper along with the bill. "This is for you," he said. "Open it after I leave." Aaron looked at the paper, bewildered, but too polite to decline. She watched as the man stood, gave her one last smile, and walked out of the restaurant. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she quickly unfolded. Beneath the staggering amount was a handwritten message. "Your kindness has inspired me. Use this to create the future you deserve. A grateful stranger." Aaron's heart began racing as she clutched the check. Her hands were quivering. She ran outside, looking up and down the street to see if this man was somewhere, but he was gone. Her mind ran with questions such as, Who is this man? Why would he be giving her something so unbelievable? That evening, sitting in her small apartment, Erin was unable to put the mysterious man out of her mind. She wanted to return the check. It was far too much money for her to accept. But there was no contact information on the note, and she had no idea how to find him. Days turned into weeks, and Erin's life began to change. With the money, she paid off her debts and began saving to realize her dream of opening a small cafe where everyone, even the homeless, could find. Yet her mind was preoccupied with that man who had given her a second chance in life. One day on her way back from the restaurant, a glossy black car cut across her. The window went down and there he sat, the generous man from the restaurant. "I'd hoped to find you," he smiled. Erin froze in her steps, heart racing. "You again? Why did you give me that money? Who are you?" The man stepped out. The man stepped out of the car and extended his hand. Her lips settled into a grin. Bill, sorry," he said, extending his hand. Her lips settled into a grin. The man stepped out. The man stepped out of the car and extended his hand. "Look, I'm Andrew Nike, and I gave you that money because I believe in you. I believe that people like you, kind, genuine, selfless, deserve more than the world gives them. You have a rare gift, Erin. Don't let it go to waste." Erin stared at him in disbelief. "But why me? Why did you choose me?" Andrew smiled softly. "Because when I saw you, I saw something worth believing in, and I knew that helping you would make the world a little better." And Erin smiled, finally understanding. Her life had changed forever, and it was just the beginning.